I've learned many lessons for the first time you go in a recording studio. It's way different than when you're in the practice space or at a live show. You know, doing a live show is way different than playing in front of nobody, and I think it's just the years of practice in terms of how to use your voice. I've never had like formal lessons or anything, but I have a lot of life experience with it. I've been doing this since like 1995 or so.
Bob Ruckus,
Nick Collins,
Kate Clover,
Keith Semple,
Isaiah Mitchell,
Billy Harvey,
Tim Howard. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang, brought to you by Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. Thank you for coming back week after week and hanging with us, getting to know musicians well beyond just the music, getting to know them and their story as well. If you're new to the channel, please, you know what to do. Subscribe, ring the bell, share it with your friends. And if you're coming back because you've been here before and you like what we're doing, have you shared it with your friends? If not, what are you waiting for? Also, if you prefer to get your podcast on the go, look for us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, and more. Super stoked for a lot of reasons for today's guest on The Hang. I'm joined by Kevin Wilcox. He's the unmistakable voice of Las Vegas punk band Suburban Resistance, which I gotta find out if that comes from Rockin' the Suburbs years ago by Ben Folds. But it's a project that brings together East Coast hardcore grit and West Coast skate punk energy. Known for his work with UV Rays and War Squad, Kevin channels decades of underground punk experience into Suburban Resistance raw, melodic sound, a collision of pop, punk, hardcore, skate rock, death rock, and it refuses to sit in one side of the box. Man, I'm telling you, I was listening to this stuff. There's something for everyone with this band. So we're going to dive into Kevin's journey, the band's Desert Forge sound as he's coming to us from the dry desert of Las Vegas and the community that keeps punk alive. Kevin, welcome to The Hang.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me, man. How's it going?
Hey, this is gonna be exciting because we're kind of hometown homies. Two guys from Rochester living in different places in the country, getting on the same podcast. So this could be fun.
Yeah, man.
So, since we do kind of come from the same place, I'm kind of curious, and I start every episode this way because I want to know your story. So, how did your relationship with music begin, and did you find music or did music find you?
I mean, me and music have been together since the very beginning. My old man listened to a lot of tunes. He raised me up on like the oldies radio, which back in the 80s was playing 50s and 60s rock and roll stuff,
Wait a minute. Was that WBBF? Was that back in the day, WBBF? I think that was it in Rochester, right. Wasn't it?
It's everything from Chuck Berry and Little Richard up through the Beatles and kind of cutting off around the Hendrix era, So that was really where I started off, and I fell in love with a lot of that stuff. And I guess when I was around 7, I got like my first actual music that I owned. My dad bought me a couple Beach Boys tapes when I learned how to ride my bike finally. That was my reward. That was really the only reason I did it. He was like, I will buy you some tapes. I was like, all right, I'm in. And I never stopped from there, man.
Well, let me ask you this. Like many people from Rochester, where'd you get your first instrument?
Well, it was actually not the Great House of Guitars. But we did go there all the time. We grew up in Webster. There's like a little music shop on Main Street that my dad got my brother a guitar originally, and then when my brother got better at it, he got an upgrade, and I got the old one.
Yeah, I know how that feels, but an instrument in your hand's an instrument in your hand. It's what you make of it. My first guitar came from House Guitars. Love that place. I still go back. If I visit Rochester, I have to go back, pick up a new T-shirt, check it out. For sure. And, it's crazy. It's crazy, the bands that have been through there. And then, I'm still listening to the Chesterfield Kings all these years later.
100%. Yeah, I mean, even growing up, anytime we had an uncle or anybody come through town, and you're like, you got to see the House of Guitars. That was always a trip ever since I was a 5-year-old kid. And I remember seeing Greg from Chesterfield, working at the counter, just go up and buy crap off of him. I was like, who is this dude, you know? Because I'm like 8 years old, and he looks like he's from like a whole nother world. I was like, what is this dude about? But
I think
years
everybody...
later, I mean, eventually I ended up, one of my old bands opened up shows for Chesterfield Kings. You know, they're a huge band for us.
Cool. Yeah, no, I love it. It's always great. Like if you're listening to Underground Garage or something on Sirius XM, and boom, there's the Chesterfield Kings. Kind of makes you feel like home. So you got that guitar, you got that hand-me-down guitar, your first guitar. How did you take to it? What were the things that you wanted to do with it? And then really, how did you start to craft your skills?
So they sent me to lessons at that same music store in Webster. I took like 2 or 3 months of guitar lessons, and the guy, like, after the second practice, he was like, just bring in like 2 or 3 songs you want to learn. And I brought in 3 Ramones songs. I was like, I want to learn the Ramones. And he was like, oh, you just want to learn the Ramones? That's easy, man. So he taught me like 3 Ramones songs, and like I stopped going to practice. I stopped taking the lessons, and that was all I needed once I figured out a bar chord, you know.
Nice.
And then really, I mean, by the time I was getting into punk rock and really wanted to start a band, my best friend, Pat, was already way better at guitar than me, and I kind of wanted to just be a singer anyway, so I started focusing on vocals from there. I mean, when I was 15, 16 years old, you know. I still play guitar from time to time, and for this band still, I like can figure out stuff on it to show the other guys, can you play this better than me, you know? But vocals is my main deal.
So who have you had as influences for your vocal style?
Oh man, millions and millions. Like I said, super early influence would have been the Beach Boys. Still love the Beach Boys. There's kind of, I would say, like, in punk rock, you got like the singers. You got Joey Ramone, Glenn Danzig from Misfits, Milo from Descendants. Then you got like the more gnarly stuff, like the dude from Adolescence added some more snarl in there, you know, and like the Accused and Void and those guys that are really getting in that. And I kind of, and then also I'd throw in like Polystyrene. I always thought from X-Ray Specs was an insane vocalist. And a lot of times, I mean, I got a different voice than all those people, you know, so their influence only goes so far, because even if I try to sound like one of these people, it don't really come out that way, you know. But when you mix and mash all of these things, hopefully I come up with something, at this point anyway, I feel like I've come up with something that is me. It took a little bit to get to.
Well, I mean, okay, so let me ask. To where you are today, which is hopefully where you want to be, what did it take? What were some of the key lessons you had to learn to perfect yourself to where you wanted, to the level that you wanted to be performing at?
Man, it's just putting in the time and putting in the practice and showing up, you know. We started doing this stuff when we were teenagers, you know. I'm an old man now. It's like I've learned many lessons for the first time you go in a recording studio. It's way different than when you're in the practice space or at a live show. You know, doing a live show is way different than playing in front of nobody, and I think it's just the years of practice in terms of how to use your voice. I've never had like formal lessons or anything, but I have a lot of life experience with it. I've been doing this since like 1995 or so. I mean, I think that's really it. It's just putting in the time and putting in the effort and not giving up and believing in yourself. You know, that's one thing a lot of people told me, and they're like, I want to sing, but I don't have the, you know, I don't have the confidence. And it's like, you just got to get up there and put your balls out and do it, man. It's like, just go for it. If you don't believe in yourself, ain't nobody else gonna neither, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You know, you hit on something, you know, the whole 10,000 hours, right? It's the 10,000 hours theory, right? You got to put your 10,000 hours in. When you see younger musicians these days who are just, you know, they're playing at home on the internet, they're on TikTok or some social media or something like that, and they've done, you know, hundreds of takes just to get one right. I mean, do you think that there's something lost today in the fact that people can just perform outwardly on social media as opposed to going through the thousands of hours and getting on the stage, things like that? Those instrumentalists who they can shred like crazy on TikTok, but then you see them like get out and perform and they can't pull it off. I mean, do you think that's kind of lost on a younger generation putting in the time?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. It's just a whole different thing, and with something like that, it's like there's going to be people that just got it and people that don't. And I think that a lot of times the old school way, people that don't quite got it, maybe after a year or two you start to get it, and you can do that in a practice space and you can do that in a show in your friend's basement or backyard, but if you put that shit out on the internet when you ain't ready yet, then that's gonna haunt you for a little bit. But I don't know. I try not to get too stuck on it was better back then in our ways, because that's some old man talk, and well, there is truth to it. I mean, there's a whole new generation and they're gonna find their ways, and like it will keep going whichever way it goes, but yeah, it is definitely a thing. Once you have, you can sit and perfect it before you post your reel, before trying to do that live. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah, it sure is. So you've had an illustrious career. You've been around different bands, different places. Now it's Suburban Resistance. Tell me about the history of the band and how it all came together.
Suburban Resistance. So I moved out to Vegas in like 2010. It was a big change for me. I got a new job, a new schedule. I didn't know anybody out there. I just moved out here with my wife, pretty much. Her dad was out there. We started going to shows, because this is, the very first night, I don't know if it was the first night, but our first time in Vegas, our first show, Angry Samoans were playing, and like I hopped up on stage. They called out, it was like, who knows every song off the first Black Flag 7-inch? I was like, I do, So I kind of tried to jump right into it, but at the same time, I was kind of holding off because I had a new job that starts stupid early in the morning. We started having kids and stuff, and I took like almost a decade off of live music when I first got out here. We went to a lot of shows, and I listened to a lot of music, but I didn't have my own band out here at first. I didn't know nobody. The very first person that I started seeing at punk rock shows that said hello to me, because I'm not an outgoing dude, was Tom Urban. And he was just somebody that, all right, I seen this dude at 10 shows in a row, and you finally get the nod or the hey, what's up, and we started talking a little bit. Adam, our guitar player, I found out somehow that he was the guy from The Faction, which was a band I loved growing up, right? Classic skate punk from the 80s. I was like, holy crap, the guy from The Faction lives here? That's awesome. So I Facebook friended him, and he's a very generous and cool individual, and he had season tickets for the Golden Knights, and he would just post on his Facebook and be like, I got one extra ticket to every game this season, and he'd just bring a different person that wanted to go for free. So I ended up meeting Adam that way, meeting Tom that way, and eventually Tom invited me to his 40th birthday party. I think it was his 40th. And that was after I'd been seeing him around for years, but still we never hung out outside of seeing each other at bars or shows. And I went to his house, and he has 10, 15 guitars on the wall. I was like, I didn't know you played guitar, man. He was like, oh yeah, I'm not very good. I was like, well, whatever, man. You should freaking make a band. You're at every single show. So me and him kind of started talking about that a little bit. Little did I know that off to the side, him and Pat, who would be our bass player, and Pat's brother Aaron, had been jamming in his garage for a while, possibly for years, and they had been looking for people to come in and fill different spots. So eventually Tom called me up and asked me if I wanted to come down and sing a couple songs with them. They were doing just like all punk rock covers, Dead Boys and I Know We're League and MC5 and Descendants and stuff like this. I was like, yes, I know all of those songs. I would love to. I did that for a couple weeks, and it was fun to sing again. It had been a while. But at the same time, I was like, I don't really want to be in a cover band. That's not really my scene, man. So like one week he called me up. I was like, I can't come this week. I just made up an excuse because I wasn't feeling it really. And that week, apparently Adam came and filled in on drums. And he called me up. He was like, hey man, the dude from the Faction just showed up to play drums. He wants to come back next week. I was like, I will be there. This changes everything. And that is where it began. We did a couple more weeks of practice with Adam doing the drums, which Adam is the guitar player for the Faction, so I didn't even know he played drums. But apparently he did that many years ago when he was young, you know, and he just kind of wanted to get back into it. And once he was in it, and me and him both kind of started being like, we should make our own songs. And we did. And we never played a cover again.
Nice. Let's talk about your songs. You guys have a fairly large Bandcamp presence. Love it. And as everyone knows, we're all about making sure that, you know, people pay for music, they support their artists. So everybody, the links will be down below, so you can go to Bandcamp and get their music. Buy it. Don't steal it. Don't go to that other place. Go and buy it. Support bands. And it's not cheap to live in Vegas, so definitely support them. But that said, I'm always fascinated because you build a catalog of songs, right? And I look at, you know, when you find a new artist, it's kind of like you're sitting down to a meal, right? Yeah. And every meal has an entree. So in your entire catalog of songs, are there 2 or 3 that you would feel are like the best representation of the band and what you want people to get hooked on so that they enjoy the rest of the meal, right? So like, what are the first few songs that they should go to so that they can really start to like be pulled in for the rest of the catalog? Do you have a few?
Fine questions. I'll just pick a couple that we play almost every show. You know, we try every show to switch up the set a little bit because we do have a ton of songs and we can do that. But there's, you know, a couple of the ones that are fan favorites or whatever that make it into damn near every set. So, Can't Trust No One off the first album was kind of our first one that people really started clinging on to. Probably Backwards off the Backwards album. And what did I pick? Probably something off the new album because, I mean, we've come a long way since the earlier albums. I'd say maybe Don't Mean Anything, the first track off the new album, is a pretty cool example of where we're at right now.
So tell me about the new album and kind of the evolution from the other stuff you've released. What's new, different, or kind of evolved in your sound, your lyrics, the way you approach it?
Well, I feel like on this album, I guess over the last 2 or 3 albums, our sound is kind of becoming more and more crystallized. We actually have prided ourselves and tried to an extent not to have a sound, a certain sound. Like, we want to play all different kinds of shit, man. We want to play 70s punk, we want to play hardcore punk, we want to play pop punk, I have a huge record collection. I listen not only to punk rock, we like metal, we like freaking the blues, we like all sorts of stuff, the 60s stuff we were talking about. So we really try to like never turn down anybody's idea. Like one time a couple albums ago, Adam was like, I want to make a power ballad. Or like, really? Like, you know, 2 bands ago I'd been like, no way, we're doing that, we're a punk band, you know. But now I'm like this old and I don't care. I was like, well, I never tried that before, let's give it a shot, right? that being said, I feel like over the last 2 albums specifically, we are kind of getting a certain sound, and there's always going to be a couple on the album that are kind of curveballs, and different styles, but we are resting in kind of this melodic, I would call it melodic punk, not pop punk. It's not like 90s pop punk, but it's more of like a melodic Social Distortion, Misfitsy, Descendancy, Ramonesy kind of punk rock, where, sung vocal punk rock, but not straight up pop tunes all the time. Since Adam started as the drummer, but he's switched over to guitars since then, and I think him coming to guitar and me and him getting used to each other and him having an idea where I might go with the music, once they give me the tunes, I think we're kind of honing in on reaching our strengths. Nice.
Hey, I got to ask you, being in Vegas and all, we've had a lot of different guests. The Implosions have been on, Crom Fallon, who else has been on? The Minges. We've had a whole ton of great bands.
Moss and Ruckus.
Yeah, Moss and Ruckus, man. You want to talk about some Ramones stories? He's got great Ramones stories, and he's got a million stories.
Yeah, I love that dude.
What I've noticed, to me at least, being here in Dallas and having lived in this state and the Austin music scene and everything, I really feel now that when I come out to Las Vegas, the music scene kind of has that Austin vibe that it had a long time ago. It's really become super vibrant, and there's a lot of great talent coming out there. What are you seeing, and how do you feel about being in a place that was always known for the big show acts to come through, right? But now has such a great local music scene.
Well, it's glorious, man. And I didn't know a hell of a lot about Vegas before I moved out here. The only band I was familiar with at all would have been MIA, who kind of broke out of Vegas and got bigger. And I still love them a lot. They're awesome. But coming out here, I mean, Vegas has kind of always had a super cool scene. Like, the history of this scene is wild, going back to setting up generators in the middle of the desert and having, like, huge punk bands. I mean, all through the 80s and 90s playing, like, in crazy locations because there was nowhere else to do it. Unfortunately, a lot of that is kind of under-documented. Only a couple of those bands got records out from back then. But it's been cool kind of learning about the history of the punk scene here. Its proximity to California kind of gives it a lot of cool bands coming through. But in terms of my time here, I definitely feel like things have kind of been building up and getting interesting in the last 10, 15 years. There's definitely a couple more clubs that have been popping up. There's more record stores that popped up. And, I mean, there's always a shit ton of bands, but we got, like, a pretty good crop. There's in a lot of different styles, of the punk and rock and roll spectrum, It's pretty awesome. There's a lot of good people to play with. If anything, sometimes there's like 3 of us all playing shows on the same night. That's like the only bummer about it, as if we're dividing up the crowd, but other than that, yeah, there's a lot of good bands out here right now, and it's a pretty fun scene to be a part of. Like, I can only imagine if I was out here in my 20s, it was like this. I would be out every single night,
Well, that's what I tell people.
Happening.
Yeah, that's what I tell people now is if you're going to go to Vegas, you don't go to Vegas for what you went there 10 years ago. You go to Vegas now, don't stay on the Strip, find all the good music clubs and go listen to the local bands because you're going to get a better bang for your buck than something overpriced on the Strip or some commoditized show. Go to the Double Down, right? Go to the different clubs. Go to Fremont, right? Go to those clubs, and really feel the music, be part of the music, so that you're not in this monstrous show where you're just one person in an audience, but you're having an experience with everybody there. And I think that that's something that, you know, going to Vegas, it's kind of morphed into, if you know to do that before you go out there and you're not looking for the typical touristy stuff, you know?
For sure. I mean, and a lot of the shows out here are free. Double Down shows are always free. We're playing tomorrow at this brewery for some like big car festival thing that's like totally free, no stage. I mean, somebody can come up and pick my nose while we're playing if they want to, you know? It's like a way different experience, live music up close, than like watching from a seat far away. That's a fact.
For sure. So the Double Down. So here's the question of the day. Ass juice, no ass juice. Are you an ass juice guy?
It's got to be a special night. I went early in my Vegas experience. Yeah, I would go for it more often than not for the novelty and the name alone. Now, yeah, I got to be on one to be like, I need some ass juice right now. I'm more of just like a beer and whiskey kind of fella, but I mean, free ass juice, on the other hand, I'll say yes to every time. But if I'm paying for something, I'll probably just pick regular whiskey right now.
Yeah, well, you know, you just got to tell them it's your first time there and you've never had it before, right? I mean,
they all recognize me.
Yeah, well, you know, there are locals, yeah. So let me ask you this question, because you've been out there now a while. Can I safe to assume you've been to punk rock bowling?
Oh yeah, every year that they've had it since I've been out here. Yeah.
So let me ask you this:
2010.
Do you have like one apex moment from one of those experiences at punk rock bowling that like is just burned in your mind, like the best experience you ever had? What's your greatest punk rock bowling memory?
Well, the greatest year, of course, was the year they let us play. That was, I mean, for me personally, that was definitely like, wow, that was like one of our first times we got on like a real legit like show with bigger bands too, because we were still kind of newish at that time, so we were like stoked. Like, they're way up here, but if you look at it, we're pretty much opening for the Circle Jerks, and that's awesome, right? I don't know, there's been like tons of great memories. I remember even like we brought my kids every year because they're free to get in, even when they're babies. I remember one year when my kid was still just a little nugget man, like Monkey from the Attics, like seeing him. He's got the big headphones. We're being good parents and all, but Monkey was like, let me see the baby. And he like takes my kid and holds him up in front of the crowd, all Lion King'd out. It was pretty glorious. The one year Iggy Pop headlined was like a super good Iggy Pop set. It was kind of like, I always like it like when a band like that shows up, but they tailor their set list kind of to the punk rock crowd, and it was like pretty awesome. So I mean, so many great bands. I could tell you cool stories about punk rock bowling for an hour. Nice.
Well, maybe. Unfortunately, we don't have punk rock bowling this year. Hopefully, it'll be back next. But I'm actually toying with the idea of I'm toying with the idea of getting a bunch of people on for a punk rock bowling memories episode. So maybe I'll hit you up for that one.
That'd be cool. And I should mention, they're doing the riot on Fremont Street out here that weekend now. So they are still gonna do like a fest all that weekend with bands and stuff. So. It's still going to be a banging weekend in Vegas, but yeah, hopefully they come back.
Well, was it Crimson Riot is going to come up, is been on the podcast, and they were telling me about it. All I will say is this, since we're doing this a little in advance, I have not yet released my hotel room, so you never know, I may show up. I may just show up that weekend. We go through life with a lot of people coming and going into our orbit, right? And I look at it from the standpoint of there's some people who come into our life who kind of deposit something upon us, a little nugget of wisdom, a little idea, something that sticks with us that we actually hold on to for a while, whether they're with us or not. And we either use it to hone our craft, or maybe it's we give it that piece of wisdom to another individual, but they've made a monumental impact on our life. Do you have someone like that in your musical career who's had that big impact on you that you just kind of take them with you wherever you are, no matter no matter how far they may be?
Yeah, I mean, a lot, really. I mean, tons of people have touched me mentally, you know, and
appropriately.
You
Not
know,
look.
yeah.
The only person I have to worry about on this podcast with touching inappropriately is Giz Laszlo. We have a running joke on that one, but yeah, up here, not
like,
doing.
either emotionally or like mental and like mentoring or just like guidance, you know, because there's a ton of people like that. One guy that comes up, because we're kind of just talking about that in the way that Suburban Resistance makes music of all different sorts. Like, I had a bass player named Todd in my old band UV Rays, and like him and the guitar player were kind of arguing, like somebody didn't like the song somebody else brought in, or like, oh, I don't want to play this. He's like, well, I mean, you bring in songs I don't like sometimes, but then I just make a cool bass part and I like it, right? And I think that was like a pretty important piece of looking at music, you know? It's like, sometimes I'll get presented a song, I'm like, how the hell am I going to sing for this? Or like, it's not really my style, but it's a pretty good exercise in creativity and musicianship to figure out how to take something that you're not sure on and like make your part to it awesome. So then you do like it, and you know, and that's how a song should grow and be built. And so it's not a one person thing, you know. It's I mean, that's only one example. I could point out tons of people. I mean, early collaborators like Pat Bolger and Party Pat Welch, Rob Filardo in Rochester, New York, huge, man. My dad taught me how to sing. I mean, we would sit in the car on the way home from karate practice, and like he'd be like, all right, listen to how this guy's doing it. He's doing the high part. It goes like this. You hear it? All right. This guy over here, he's doing the low part. Now we're going to try, right? And it's all a learning experience the whole way through. And I mean, even still today, I mean, I learn shit from Adam. I mean, because Adam's got another couple years on me. He started doing this stuff when I was a kid, you know.
So let me ask you this. I mean, Rochester, New York is very famous. We got Eastman School of Music. I've had Scott Mayo on, who I went to high school with, or I went through school with in Henrietta, and now he was Sergio Mendez's band, the music director, and he's been on The Voice and a lot of shows in Hollywood, plays saxophone. You know, Rick Beato's from Rochester. Tony Levin's from Rochester. You know, we recently lost Chuck Mangione. I mean, a lot of Rochester musicians, right? Really famous musicians come out of Rochester. Mm-hmm. Was your dad involved in music before you were born or around that time? What was his passion for the music that gave him the desire to impart it upon you?
It's interesting. My old man he played guitar and drums like before us kids were around, and he basically like stopped doing any of that stuff when we were growing up. We still listened to music all the time. He was passionate about it. He had a record collection and a CD collection, and I mean, you know, every car ride we would be singing along to whatever. And it's funny because like then after like all of us grew up and moved out of the house, like he bought a drum set again, and he started buying guitars again, and he set like the whole basement up like it was like a practice space, and he like got in a band again, which like I was like, man, I wish our basement was like this when we were teenagers, you know, because my brother plays guitar and my other brother plays bass and my dad played drums and I sing. We could have just done a whole thing, you know. I don't know that we would have, you know, because then, you know, my brother's like, I only like death metal and I only like punk rock, you know, but it's like, oh, I don't know. It's interesting. My dad's claim to fame, I guess, in that realm, which was way before I was born. He played a couple shows with the Invictas, who were a 60s garage rock band from Rochester, New York. Their big hit was called The Hump, which is a pretty hot tune worth checking out if you're into 60s rock.
Nice.
And since you were mentioning famous Rochester musicians, I will call out Wendy O. Williams and Lydia Lunch.
How could you?
Two
How
of
can
my
you not?
favorites from the motherland.
You know, it's funny because now we live in this mediated society where we get all this stuff thrown at us, and I don't know how the hell it happened, but Wendy ended up in one of my in my YouTube feeds, and I'm like,
Really?
my God, I haven't thought about her for years, right? And that. Remember that was the most controversial Plasmatics video where she's on top of the bus and she's got the clear chest plate on and shit. I mean, those were insane times. And back then, she was getting verbally beaten up for doing something like that. And I don't know, you could turn on any
beat up by the cops.
Yeah. And nowadays you turn anything on YouTube and like that stuff's it's tame in comparison. But back then, she caused quite the uproar.
She was the real deal, dude. Wendy was the real deal. That lady is tough as nails. And cool as hell.
Yeah, no, I never got a chance to meet her, but I enjoyed growing up during that period for sure. You guys have some residencies or a bunch of shows in Vegas coming up, like April, May, June kind of thing? What's if someone's traveling out there, when and where can they catch you? And I'm gonna make sure that I put them down in the show notes too.
Good deal. Yeah, no residency. We just wrote that as a joke because we're not leaving town like a bunch of losers. But we do have a bunch of cool shows coming up this year. It's been good. We played with the Queers a little bit ago. April 20th at Red Dwarf, we're playing with Kevin Wilcox, who I love dearly. May 29th, Dive Bar with Sloppy Seconds and Channel 3, two bands I love. June 5th, Red Dwarf, Celebrity Stalker, and a big one for us, September 13th at Backstage Barn Billiards. We're opening for Exploited with Soldiers of Destruction. I got a shout out also on that Capiguli show, Femalians. That's my wife's band, Femalians.
I'd love to come back for that September show, but I think I've been banned from there. What'd you
do?
Were you there for the Clit 45 show at last year Punk Rock Bowling when Spider-Man got killed?
No, I must have picked a different one that night.
I'll send you the video, but I might have had something to do with the murder of Spider-Man at that show. It was brutal, and Spider-Man ended up everywhere. So I'm not sure they'd let me in anymore. Either that or they're going to make me clean the floors. But that's freaking awesome. What else does 2026 have in store for you guys? Any more new music? You guys still writing? You got anything in the works?
We are 100% always writing. We put out one full-length album a year. So this new one just came out at the end of December. We do have a 7-inch single, 45, coming out with a couple songs from the album for my tender love ballad, Sugar Pussy, which will be a beautiful 45. And that's probably out in a month or two. And then, the rest of the year we'll start writing the next one, start recording. Usually the end of the year we start recording. And maybe early next year we'll have the new album.
Nice. Well, definitely, when you have the new album out, here's what I want to do. Let's get the other guys together, and we'll all do this as a group.
Yeah, word up.
Because that could get a little crazy, and then they can talk about you instead of you talking about them. Now, one of the things that I love to learn, is that we go through life with goals and ambitions. I mean, I can't see if you have a vision board there in your room. Maybe you do up in the corner somewhere.
There's no room for that.
But maybe there's some artists that you've been like, man, if I just get in a studio with them one day, get creative, get inside their head, see what happens. Who would that be and why them?
Man, so many people I could say for this, and a lot of the ones I want to pick are dead already, so that won't work.
Well, yeah, that won't work. I can tell you right now, from experience doing this question a lot, Prince is not available. Johnny Cash isn't available. David Crosby's not available. Wendy's not available. You can go down the list. So if someone's watching today who knows who this magical person is that you're gonna say who it is, you never know, because we're putting something good out in the universe. They may just find out about this. So let's see what we can make happen. So I'd say someone above ground as opposed to below is your best choice.
Yes, that seems more reasonable. My favorite band ever is Ramones. Not many of them are left. I'd love to do something with CJ. That would be crazy. I always kind of also had in my head it'd be cool as hell for Suburban Resistance to go record at Blasting Room with the Descendants guys that run that. That'd be like really cool to get their input on making the tunes and recording. Both of those would be pretty magical.
Well, let's do this, because this one possibly could. Since Rob Ruckus has told some incredible Ramones stories, including about CJ, and you happen to know Ruckus, maybe Ruckus, if you're watching, dude, hook Kevin up. That'd be a great.
I met CJ a bunch of times. He gave me a big kiss on my cheek on a boat in the middle of the ocean one day, but we never did sit down to make a tune. But
we got to make that happen.
Hook it up, Ruckus.
Yeah, Ruckus, come on. Make a little ruckus. So, look, you've got quite the collection there. I'll be honest with you. I've done a lot of these, and, like, you're probably in the top 3 or 4 record rooms I've seen. I mean, Ruckus has got a good one. Sharif Dumani, he's got, like, what I saw in his record room. He goes, that's nothing. You should see my kitchen. We've had other people on who have crazy record collections. One of the things, because we're big supporters of music, is a couple of things. Number one, go out and support Suburban Resistance. You're going to have the links below. You're going to buy their music. You're going to go to shows. You're going to buy merch. You're going to buy the new single. You're going to go support them and all your artists, because without that support, they can't bring us more music. That said, when you're not making your own music, I don't know, you're out, maybe you're walking the dog, you're hanging out with your kids, you're driving around in the desert in your car, whatever you do to just kind of relax. Who are 2 or 3 artists that you really enjoy listening to, that if we're sitting here, let's say we're at the Double Down having a shot of ass juice and you're going, Scott, you got to lay your ears on this stuff. Here's a couple I got to tell you about. Who would they be? Why?
Rocky Erickson and the Aliens, The Evil One. Everybody should listen to that record. It's perfect. Detestation by Jism is pretty awesome. Pretty freaking awesome. I mean, I'll throw one out to the Accused, Martha Splatterhead's Maddest Stories Ever Told. Those are some of my favorite records. They're not. Anyway, I could go on. In my daily life, like when I leave here today and I drive, I try to listen to something new that I've never heard every day. And by that, I don't mean something that just came out. Usually it's like some obscure, like, 1987 hardcore record from Sweden or something. You know, I'm very interested. Like, this is only a portion. Like, I have a ton of records. This is a very huge part of my thing. So I'm always hunting for something I haven't heard, especially for 70s punk and 80s hardcore punk. It's like my sweet spot. I like a lot of other music, but that's like my favorite shit to collect. So, like, if I can, like, find some, like, 1984 7-inch from Yugoslavia of, like, some hardcore punk shit, like, that's what I want to hear. And so every day I listen to something I ain't never heard before, and that's where I'm at right now. But those couple I'd really offer. Some top-tier stuff that if you haven't checked out, I would fully recommend.
Nice. We now have something new. This is how I learn about listening to other stuff, because I feel the same way. It's, you know, I just got recently, God, I was listening, I was flipping through Sirius XM, and I found Tyler Ballgame, and I heard this one time, like, my God, his voice, like, it's got some Joe Cocker in it. It's got just a little hint of Barry White, and I'm like, this is some cool shit. I had to go out and buy it, right? And I love it, you know? And I don't care, you know, I mean, pretty much I'll listen to any genre, not so much, you know, everybody knows I'm not so much country, but for the most part, if it's got a good sound to it and it's unique, meaning they're doing something that no one else is doing, they're paving their own way, they're not vanilla, it's not something I could have just, you know, I could hear 5 different artists do the same damn thing, it gets my attention. So this is a great way to learn about bands. I am definitely, at some point, I'll be out in Vegas this year. So maybe you, me, Ruckus, our buddy Pele, we can all go ahead and get together. I got to come out and see. I got to come out and see the Implosions play. Love them, and you know the Shakewells.
Yeah.
God, I love the shape wells. So I'll be doing that sometime this year. Kevin, I wish you guys all the best from one Rochester guy to another. We could have probably done a whole episode just talking about garbage plates. So so we'll definitely get together again soon. Everybody, I appreciate you. We all appreciate you hanging out with us, getting to know these stories, hanging out with us, and coming back every week. And as I tell you, listen, do yourself a favor. Every day, show yourself a little love and compassion and go out and do that for somebody else once a day. You'll feel really good about life right now, no matter how bad it seems to be. So, Kevin, it's been great getting to know you. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man. Good times.
Absolutely. We're going to do this again soon. Everybody, come back for more. We'll see you on the hang soon. Bye for now.